Hey, Chris, how you doing today?
Great, Ron. How about yourself?
Another great day, right?
Awesome. Yes,
This will be
sir.
a fun one. We're actually recording. Chris and I do weekly sessions late at night where we don't have to be bothered by clients and work and employees and things like that. Where we call them our cranking sessions. So tonight's one of our cranking sessions. So we
Right.
thought we'd try to give us a opportunity to crank out one of our webinars tonight. So
Hmm.
tonight's a really fun topic. And we're going to talk about medical device sales and portals for that. We've actually, for one of the ones we just did recently, we won 3 awards, right, for one of the medical device sales portals we did. So I want to talk a little bit about what a medical device sales portal is, some of the capabilities, what that might be. We can talk about timeline. We can talk about whatever you want to talk about. So I'm going to turn it over to you. That's just kind of a high level, but what do you think about medical device portals and what do you want to tell our audience tonight?
Yeah, I think, it depends on where your business is at and how you want to really get the information out about your medical device or devices. But typically what we see is there's certainly a lot of marketing collateral that we want to bring. We also want to comply with regulations and rules, but do it in a graceful way or an elegant way while still fully complying. And this is a really big opportunity within medical device sales. The other thing that we want to do is we want to make it easy for people to visually understand how to engage. So a lot of times folks are sort of early in the funnel. So they're just going to be gathering information, but it's good to give them a way to stay in touch. So this can, be recommendations or like a checklist or resources for them to really dig into and sort of stay engaged at that top of the funnel phase. Next, we typically see there are a lot of people that are interested in sort of getting pricing, risks. How are they going to deal with insurance? Does their insurance cover it? What are some of the side effects potentially, or common issues, etc. And they're kind of getting serious about engaging. And so, how do you want to
Right.
engage with your visitors that are at that potential point? And then, depending on how your business is structured, you may actually be providing the device, but not actually, typically doing the surgery or the actual work directly with the patient. And so you're going to be referring them to different surgeons, different medical facilities, medical groups that specialize or have gone through your training program and certified, et cetera. And so ultimately, we want to be able to manage for that sort of bottom of the funnel, or when somebody is ready to engage and really properly engage them, so that we can support all of the folks that are out there that are using these medical devices and really make it seamless for their patients that are coming to our medical device site, so that they can have a great experience no matter where they are in that funnel. And so there's a lot of mechanics behind that, right, Ron? So that we can really make
Yeah.
sure that we're engaging people and sort of offering those different parts of the funnel the most value and continuing to engage them throughout, right?
Yeah. Matter of fact, there's 2 funnels, right? You've got the patients who are hearing about the device, they're seeing the ads that you're running, and they're wanting to know more information because before they go talk to their doctor about it or start looking for a surgeon, they want to find information, as Chris just said. So there's really 2 different websites. There's that website, and then there's surgeons that are going to hear about that too, or people are going to call them up and ask them, or doctors are going to say, hey, listen, do you guys do this device, right? And then the surgeons are going to have to go do some research. So there's some SEO, there's some CRO, there's 2 different sales funnels, one for the patients, one for the surgeons. And then we've got to deal with PHI data, but the data can be scrubbed because we have to serve up for the surgeons clinical data, right? We have to do all the clinical trial tests and all the clinical data, and they want more information about the device and about things that have happened and about successes and failures and how to do the surgeries. And so there's a lot of information that may be for the surgeon that may or may not be publicly visible. So you may even have a separate area for the surgeon to log in once they've gotten some basic information. Maybe they want to register, and then you send them an information packet that has a lot more medical information that's really not for the general public. So I'm going to start right at the top of the funnel, and let's just start what this thing is. So when we call everything a portal, but a portal is basically a website with a purpose in my definition. And so in this particular definition, the first thing that we usually need to determine when we're designing these portals is, where's the audience? How are we going to reach them? And where do we need to host? And what does security look like? Because we may be hosting up on AWS or on Azure. Clarity might be hosting it. The client might be hosting it. Does it need to be a HIPAA compliant hosting environment, right? There's a whole lot of different questions that we need to ask even before we know where we're going to build the website. So I want to talk briefly, Chris, talk to me about one of the things that's interesting about these portals is that we can have a lot of medical information. Theoretically, we could include a lot of PHI information for the surgeons about surgeries that have happened, but that could be behind a login, right? There could be a surgeon login, and then they can log in, and then there's actual film of people inserting the device. There could be surgeries. There could be PHI data for specific things that have happened to specific patients that can be shared, right? Mm-hmm. But behind a login. So there is, though, a lot of clinical trial data that users are interested in too, right? It's like, how many people have had this, back insert, right? I just had my back fused a couple of years ago. And when I was looking at what devices to use, I went and did research, and I wanted to know the clinical data. I wanted to know what's the success rate of each of the devices, right? And so I want to see real clinical data, but obviously I'm just a guy. And so they're not going to sign a BAA with me and give me any PHI data. They're not going to give me, other than people that are willing to do a testimonial, right? They're not going to let me talk to anybody or give me any information about PHI. So how do we get away with clinical trial data, and how do we treat quote unquote data that used to be PHI, but can now be on these medical device portals? Talk to the audience a little bit and tell us what we do with that data.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, one of the big things that we could do is de-identify the data so that it isn't technically PHI anymore. And this is something that, a lot of organizations do. And you want to be very careful about, sort of thinking that the data is de-identified if it isn't actually de-identified. There are specialists that focus on actual data de-identification. But once you've de-identified data, you can aggregate the data and provide it in a friendly format for the user. And there's sort of a spectrum here of what might make sense for your particular device or devices, and how much detail you want to provide to both potential patients and then as well as, care providers, whether it's surgeons or other folks in that pipeline. And fundamentally, with PHI data, it is absolutely something that we can help you to de-identify. But in addition to that, like you were saying, Ron, depending on the way that we want to set up the portal, possibly give really specific case studies, outcomes, sort of different patient scenarios to those care providers who are going to be implementing this. And that could be not just the surgeons, but also, surge techs and nurses and support staff that are going to be setting all of this up. And in addition, having like really specific training that's very detailed and oriented to each role. These are really simple and straightforward things to do. And one of the things that we love to do, and Ron, this is something I know that you specialize in, is really working closely with the client team. Whether it's a medical manufacturing device team or we work with clients that have all kinds of really interesting actual medical applications, whether it's like a specialized device for different parts of, someone's life cycle that they're going through, where they might be dealing with, hospice and that kind of a thing. There's special devices that are really helpful for that. Maybe they're dealing with a certain kind of ailment, and there's very specialized type of wheelchair, or, what have you. And so we can really help with these different scenarios to provide you with ways to educate both patients and the care providers that are going to be involved in this process. And that really is something that can differentiate you within the space. The other thing that I'll say about this is we can also integrate with systems. And this is typically something that, especially as you start to scale with your medical device, and we've seen this all the time, Ron, where we work with clients who are basically startups, and it's a small operation, and all of a sudden they start growing so fast. They have people coming out of their facility like it's a clown car, and they just keep growing and growing and growing. And we've been part of this growth with many, many companies who we've helped to enable so that they can dynamically integrate the different locations where this device is sort of available to be implemented or implanted or integrated for someone. Automating the insurance process, which in and of itself is a particularly detailed process. And for most people, that's a make or break for them to decide if they're going to be able to do this, as well as like managing the process once it's started. So helping this location where someone has been referred to, we probably will use some form of database. And it could be a dynamic database where we're always updating the different surgeons' locations, the status of their service, if they've completed the registration, certification, and training process, if they're ready to do these implants, if you will. And then finally, once they're actually getting requests to them, managing those requests to make sure that potential patients are getting timely responses and making sure that the outcome was successful and helping manage that process all the way through. These are things that, we can help enable through your medical device portal and really make it possible for your patients to have a great experience. And a lot of times help the different care providers really optimize their potential care. They probably are pretty busy and they're probably doing a lot of different types of procedures. So the more that we can make this simple for them through your portal, the more we can really optimize how your devices are seen in the market, because we just kind of make it really hard for the surgeons not to be really successful, really hard for their support staff not to be able to use it and have great outcomes, right?
Yeah. Since I'm in marketing and sales, I'm going to take another spin on this.
Yeah.
And I'm going to go back and talk about the funnel that you talked about, right?
Yes.
So I'm going to say, how if I were designing this portal and we were building this portal from scratch, and I'm going to look at the funnel and I'm going to start at the top. So at the very top, we're going to do some SEO and some CRO work, right? And then the next is we're going to do a little more CRO work, because now that we've driven people to the website and they see the website, we have to make sure to convert them. So now they're patients, they're at the top of the funnel, they're just looking for information. So there might be a video, there might be some testimonials. And as they come further down the funnel, there's going to be more and more information, right? They're going further down that decision-making process to the point where, and I'll show some screenshots here. So you'll see a few screenshots, I'll pop up as I'm talking about this, right? So here's one that's got a video on it, right? I'll probably throw a screenshot here of one of the ones we actually won 3 different awards for this. This is a medical device site that we won some awards for. And then we have a video that shows how the device works. We've got some additional testimonials. It's got a really engaging, user-friendly UI to read more, to get them comforting. I mean, people get deciding whether they want surgery on their neck or not. That's a big deal. So you got to make sure that the imagery and everything that you're doing is very inviting and very comforting, right? That's a big one. And then further down, it's, okay, am I a candidate or not? So you can see here on the page, there's a button, am I a candidate, right? That's the first of the 2 conversions for a potential patient, right? So now they come in, they answer the questions, and if the answer is yes, it says great. And then the final conversion, would you like to find a surgeon in your area? And then the next conversion is a surgeon locator, right? So that funnel would be for potential patients that can help guide them all the way through the funnel of just gathering some information, getting and answering every question, checking potentially, like Chris said, maybe having integrations with insurance so they could put information about their insurance, their Medicare, their Medicaid, find out what their copay would be, find out what recovery time would be. How long does the surgery last? Is it inpatient? Is it outpatient? All the kind of stuff that would cause consternation inside to make a big decision like having a surgery, right?
Right.
And then on the other side, you've got to think about the funnel now for the potential surgeons. Okay, I've heard about this device. Let me get the facts. So it's a quick summary sheet, right? It's an overview. All right, looks pretty promising. Now I want to go in and I want to see the clinical trial data that says it really is a good device. And I want to see how it stacks up against the other devices that I typically use in this case, right? So then they can go in and get the clinical trial data. And then the first conversion for them, like, hey, do you want to sign up for some more information? Do you want us to send you a practice device and schedule you a cadaver so you can go in and practice your own surgery at your local facility there? We even did that in one of the portals we built for one of these clients. We literally built a scheduling portal where the sales reps could go in and schedule a cadaver over in Paris at the University of Paris facility and send the device over from the US to be there on a certain date. So a surgeon in Brussels could visit Paris and show up at the hospital and go down and practice the surgery and use the device, right? And like Chris mentioned earlier, there's the, what is it called? The Sunshine Act, and there's all kinds of stuff, right? It used to be back in the day that decisions like this were all made on the golf course. They all joked around about it, right? You'd take the doctors out to expensive meals, take them out golfing, send them on trips, and talk them into carrying your device. That's all illegal now, right? There's all kinds of rules and regulations around that. And so in the medical device sales, you have to make sure that everything you do now is recorded and follows the Sunshine Act and some of those other acts too. So I'm trying to think. I think that covered everything that I would on a portal. Obviously, design is really big. The funnels are huge, right? You need to know your audience. You have to define the funnels. You have to define what are your goals for each of the audiences that are coming. You map that all out, and then you build it. Right. Chris, I'm going to turn it back over to you to finish out anything else you want to add in, and then go ahead and tie us off.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, I think that's right. I think it's all about the funnels. And, I think one of the things that we see for clients that have the most success with these is they tend to take these in phases. So keeping it simple, getting flow of leads through the system for potential patients, and really setting up a locator, getting the proper disclaimers out there, and then continually sort of like iterating on next additional steps based on validation of the site working. If you already have a high degree of confidence or complete confidence that this is going to get a lot of traffic, it certainly is fair to do more in that initial phase. But it's really, really wise to do this in phases. The other thing that I'll note is that anything where there's a sort of lag in that process, be it on the patient side or the care provider side, there are big opportunities there to differentiate and make this a lot easier to use than other systems in the market. And usually what we see is, something like a 10 to 20% improvement over the competition results in a 50 to 100% gain in market share because the site's just that much more credible. This surgery appears to be that much more credible. And frankly, a lot of times it's highly correlated with, a better experience with the actual product. So if you're willing to put the resources in, but do it in a phased approach and just do a great job with your initial phase, that's usually a lot better than trying to eat the entire elephant in one bite and not doing it really, really well. So that's something that, we always want you to be considering. And yeah, I would say that just in general, one of the things that's really helpful with this process is working with a team that's done it many, many, many times, so that you're not having to learn things expensively. We certainly invite you to reach out to our team. We have a lot of experience with this process, and we're happy to provide complimentary consultations. So with that, we certainly appreciate you watching this video, and we're going to sign off for now, and we'll look forward to seeing you in the next one. Bye for now.
Bye for now.